and chill business because I wouldn't make it. Okay, welcome tonight to the Town of Mount Pleasant Planning Board meeting regularly scheduled for September 4th, 2025 at 7:30 p.m. First up, we have business items, and for those who don't know, many of you do know, but for those who don't know, a business item are items that we've reviewed in the past and or the minutes that we're going to review. In tonight's particular business item topic, it is just minutes that we're going to review from the previous meeting of 8/18/2025. So, any comments or questions from board members on the acceptance of minutes drafted from the 8/18/2025 Planning Board meeting? Questions or comments?
I was not at that meeting, so I wouldn't want to vote on that. We have 3 members otherwise. Do we want to hold it, or?
We will need to hold it.
So we'll put it over.
We'll put it on the next agenda. Okay, next up is public hearings. So we have one item on the public hearing. So what does that mean? That's items that we have reviewed with, let me back that up, just so everybody understands. All items that get to public hearing, even before it comes to the planning board, town staff reviews it. It comes to us at some point, we review it, and then we determine whether or not it's ready for public conversation. So this item here is ready for public conversation. So what does that mean? That means the public is welcome to come speak to us on this particular application, which is 6 Saul River Road. We'll take your public comments. Our staff will take notes, and we will go from there. So that's what's up first. So first up, new public hearing, number 1, 6 Sawmill River Road, Hawthorne, New York, amendment of previously approved site plan number PSP 24-01, restaurant with venue space. The amendment includes additions to the existing building, 2 outdoor bars, accessory structure, patios, and parking lot expansions. Some of these actions will partially take place within the steep slope, very steep, and excessively steep slope areas. Application site plan number PSP 25-4, steep slopes number SS 25-06. Location 6 Sawmill River Road, Hawthorne, New York. Section block lot number is 116.7-1-15. Zone CRB. Owner Lasate Realty LLC. Applicant and engineers Ralph Alfonsetti. So this is a public hearing, folks, so we may want to waive the reading of the public notice.
I'll make the motion that we waive the reading of the public notice.
Motion from Jane.
Second.
Second from Eileen. Walter? Jane?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
And an aye from me. Welcome tonight.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Philippe Manuel with Manuel Associates. Here I have Mr. Alfonsetti, the civil engineer, with
So
me.
what's different tonight? Just
Yeah, I will get to that.
Well, no, for tonight's meeting, this is for a public hearing. So first of all, if there's members of the public who are here for this application, you're welcome to come up and get closer, sit in one of the closer pews so you can hear better. I'm going to ask you to address the public because you're here for them, not for us tonight.
Okay.
It's just a little formality, but I want to make sure that they understand that and you understand that.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
all right, thank you. At the last planning board meeting, the board had made some comments and suggested certain things about the floor plan. One of them was creating a airlock vestibule on the northern side of the atrium. Originally, this was open. So what we did, we closed it in, provided that airlock over there, and the issue was concern about noise on that northern side there of the building for the residential neighbor. So we did that. And in terms of the architectural plans, there was really nothing else that was an issue at the time. There have been some engineering comments that maybe Mr. Alfonsetti can address.
So yeah, I think the engineering comments were actually addressed prior to the last meeting. There was a drainage question that the engineer brought up about a technical issue. There was a wall height that needed some clarification, and that's all been addressed.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
The only other change that I will bring up is the addition of a walkway in this location out the the atrium building, previously that was not shown on the plan. There's a egress here, and now it just connects to the main front door.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, and we do have my trees on the landscape plan that we talked about earlier.
I believe they were added
Yes,
at
they
the
were.
previous meeting.
Okay. Okay. Any questions or comments from board members?
This is a question I think for Pat. Is there a limit to the amount of impervious surface area on a lot? This is
There's a coverage position.
a coverage, and that is, they meet the coverage
Well
requirement?
within
Okay.
Okay, any additional questions or comments? Okay, let the record show there's no additional comments from board members. So we are here for a public hearing. So I'm going to ask the public, if there's anybody here from the public in a moment to speak. We just kind of set the guidelines of that. If you have something to say on 6 Wolverine Road, raise your hand. If you have, I'm going to give you a number. You can't talk tonight. If you have a number that I'll give to you, once you raise your hands, you can speak. Just approach the board, speak into the mic, say your name and all that for the record, and we'll hear what you have to say. So with that being said, anyone here tonight from the public would like to address the board on 6 Sawmill Road in Hawthorne? Going once? Going twice? Going 3 times. Let the record show that no one here is from the public for 6 Sawmill Road in Hawthorne, New York. So with that being said, we have a public hearing. We've presented to the public. We have listened to the applicant a number of times, including tonight. What is the pleasure of the board for the public hearing itself?
We ask the planning consultant to draft an approval.
Before that,
resolution.
just address the public hearing.
Oh, close the
Close it.
public hearing. Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion from Eileen,
Second?
second from Jean. Walter?
Aye.
Jean?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
And an aye from me. Okay, so the public hearing is closed. So what is the prevailing sentiment from the board?
Now it's your turn.
Get ready. Okay, I make a motion that we direct the preparation of an approval resolution for the site plan amendment for 6 Sawmill River Road. And with the condition, I believe we discussed no amplified music and
Correct.
patio.
There were several conditions for
Yeah.
this, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, motion from Eileen,
Second?
second from Jean. Walter?
Aye.
Jean?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
And an aye from me. Okay, thank you very much for going through the process and going through the different iterations of it. So thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Okay, next up, this is not a public hearing. This is an application that's presumably looking to get to a public hearing. It is 15 Chestnut Place in Pleasantville, installation of retaining walls to make rear yard more usable for recreation, installation of a greenhouse. Application steep slope number SS25-08, location 15 Chestnut Street. Section block lot number is 106.13-3-80, zone R10. Owner and applicant is John Marsek, engineer Hildebrand Engineering PLLC. Welcome tonight.
Good evening.
There we go.
So, good evening, Brian Hildenbrand. We are back in front of you. We were here a few months ago outlining the project. We've resubmitted, the owners submitted responses to Mr. Cleary's memo. And we've also received a few comments from the town engineer that we're able to address. They were relatively minor in the grand scope of things, so we were hoping tonight to further discuss the proposal.
Oh, yeah, so did we got a note tonight on this from the town engineer, right? Did you
Yep.
get a chance to review it? We came late.
No.
No, we replied.
Oh.
No, the note that you received today was,
From us.
Oh, from you? Okay. I've had,
So,
I saw no flight press my email, I didn't get a chance to dig into it.
gotcha, we received town engineer comments late last week, and we can go over them verbally, but we also try to put it on paper, our responses and amendments to the plan to address his comments.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Brian, could you just tell them how you're addressing Dave's comments?
Oh, sure.
Something about a swale, right?
Right, the first comment, he wanted a swale between the property line and the bottom of our wall. And our response back was that the whole point of this project is to collect the water, to not let water spill over the wall. We want to capture the water for our irrigation, our harvesting system. That's almost 7,000 gallons. And then we have an infiltration system to address that overflow. And then our drainage portion of the wall is on the inside of the wall. That will collect any groundwater or seepage and discharge it to an existing stone ditch that's established in the corner of the lot.
Can you point to that ditch on the plan?
Oh,
please?
yeah, it's right there. So it's where the water travels today. That's why there's such a established swale. So that's the intent, is to, if we kick the wall in to put a swale, nothing's going to be hitting the swale. It all falls away from our wall.
My take is we need to come to some kind of consensus with the town engineer what we're going to do.
Right. Yes, he hasn't
So-
seen my response yet.
Right, so when you come back to us, presuming that you do, for whatever reason, we should have some level of agreement.
Yeah, I think what Brian's telling you is Dave probably doesn't get his plan. It's
Yeah.
unusual for Dave not to get a plan, so there's a disconnect here.
Yeah, we need to adjust it.
Yep.
You know,
Sure.
To some level, and I would, encourage you just to sync up with them on that.
Okay.
So, anything else?
That was the one comment. The other comment had to do with shifting the infiltration system away from the wall, which we did. And then the last one was about the separation between the water well and the infiltration, which we're going to address.
Okay. All right, any other questions from board members on 15 Chestnut Place?
The site plan drawing had a detail of a 3-foot-high fence, but I didn't see the location of it on the site plan drawing. Where is the fence going? It was on like page 2, there was a detail of a fence.
I thought that was just like a boilerplate thing that you like put in there.
The idea was along the
The wall,
wall
fall
for
protection?
yeah, for fall protection.
On this one.
Right, the detail, and then on the wall section is the fence is shown installed.
Okay. And then from a town staff perspective, other than the issue, almost Eastport issue, the clarification we need to get with the town engineer, anything else?
No, there isn't, Mr. Chairman, but this is a steep slope application. The engineering department really is the primary reviewer of this. so
Yep.
You need to get Dave's.
Yeah.
And you didn't want to move the greenhouse to the northwest corner because it's too shady?
Yeah, this is Graham Hills Park over here, or over here, and so this is all tall, mature trees, and there's a couple of, a giant oak tree and maple tree up here in front of the house, and then the house itself. This is south here, so the sun is coming this way, so this is all in the shadow, basically, the backside of the house. And this is really the only
And
spot.
are any trees being removed in the location that's proposed?
The greenhouse location? No.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, there's no trees there.
Hey, I'm sorry, you guys are the owners, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We were, somebody expressed some concern last time, I think, about the losing the pine trees. These pine trees here, they're not in good shape.
They're really meant to be in Colorado.
Well, two of them are fine. Two of them have been bad. You just see like
Good-sized trees.
But all around us are large, mature trees. So.
Like these two are the wrong kind. This tree and this tree are doing decently, but this tree and this tree are
So if that,
a different kind of, a different type of pine tree in there.
if that
not
tree
helping.
went toward the house and sitting in your house,
What's that?
if that tree went down and sitting in your house, right? The pine, the
Those,
giant.
those might hit my neighbor's house. That's my neighbor's house.
Oh, that's your neighbor's
You're
house.
standing in my driveway taking this
Okay.
picture right here.
I see
We're,
eight
we're
houses.
standing here.
Right, so that,
Well, all the point is we have like 13 mature, not counting those, we have 13 mature deciduous trees on the property, not counting all the like Graham Hills trees surrounding us, and we love them and want to keep them all. Like, those are the only trees that we need to cut down, but they're not in like good shape anyway, basically, they're not, And we intend to, they are providing some kind of screening between us and the neighbor down there, but when we're done, when the wall is there and there's screening on top of the wall, there will be a much more screening,
That-
much more privacy and screening
that
between us.
particular
and the
tree, though, I would say, though, that could pose a problem to that neighbor's home, which is,
Possibly, yes.
right.
Oh, yeah, oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would say yes.
Yes, yes. We're terribly concerned about that. Yes.
All right, okay. All right, any other questions or comments from board members?
Mr. Chairman, there was one other issue that related to the height of the wall and whether a variance is required. So if there's a fence on top of the wall, that probably would exceed the height requirement. So that needs to be clarified. Eileen's comment about the fence needs to be clarified.
Okay. So we can do a couple things here. We do possibly have to get clarification from the town staff on where we're going. We could conceivably, if the board decides, schedule a public hearing contingent upon.
Subject to.
Or subject to,
Yeah.
or not schedule, not schedule a public hearing. But I don't, me personally, as one board member, I don't see the reason not to, as long as we dot the i's and cross the t's now. If that's the direction that the board wants to go to, we will not be hearing from you unless we square up that piece of it. So, but I don't think that's a insurmountable action item for you guys to take. So what is, but that's just me. I have other board members. Any other thoughts from board members?
I'll make a motion that we schedule the public hearing subject to the engineering comments being ready for that meeting.
Motion from Jane.
Second.
Second from Walter. Walter?
Aye.
Jane? Eileen?
Aye.
And an aye for me. We will see you at that next whenever that public hearing is. I don't want to
Thank
set
you.
expectations, 'cause I don't do
In advance
that.
of that, have you discussed this with your downhill neighbor?
Yes, not,
They know that we plan to do this and that we're in process. And
Okay.
so it's, the whole process from start to finish takes some time. And so in advance of the hearing, we will have a sit down and go over the plans with them.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, next up are new applications. So this is a brand-new application, right off the printing press, if you will. Town staff has reviewed a preliminary form of it, I'm sure. But it's 1215 Bedford Road lot line modification to accommodate construction of a new detached garage, subdivision PSD 25-3, location 1215 and 1235 Bedford Road, Pleasantville. Section block lot number is 105.19-1-27, zone R40, owner Akbar Rizvi, applicant and architect is Damasky Architecture. Welcome, Mr. Damasky.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So we're here tonight for a lot line modification. My client got, to be transparent with the board, my client got some bad advice from a contractor. They built a accessory garage, and it was built in a place where it shouldn't have been built. When Akbar came to me, we basically went over the project. We got a survey. We looked at it, and it was actually over the property line, which is why we're here tonight for a lot line adjustment modification. So, if you look at the left site plan, my client's property is here. The shed in question is right here. Accessory garage is right here. And then this is a neighbor's property.
Where's the garage?
It's right here. Right here. This is the existing site plan.
Yep.
So you see it just going over the lot line barely, but it's going over. So what we did was we approached the neighbor, and they were okay with having a lot line adjustment. So Akbar gave his neighbor some land, the neighbor gave him some land, and we're trying to keep the project where it's somewhat in compliance with zoning. The lot line modification on the right side of it, on the right side drawing, shows both properties, and the zoning analysis is, for both properties, is listed and has been presented to Pat. There are no variances created or no nonconformities created under this lot line modification. All the setbacks, all the property sizes, all the building coverage, all that is still remaining the same. We actually, with the property that we gave back to the owner that we're modifying the lot line on, the lots have not changed in size. So they exactly from a square footage perspective, the same size lots. Again, you can see the modification here. We push this lot line away, so we got 25 feet here. Over here is what's existing right on top of the property line. So that's really the gist of it. You know, one thing I have to say, this is a very difficult site to work with. I mean, we studied this in many ways. One of the first things we looked at was, is there really a better place to put this garage if it was done from scratch? So we studied it, we looked at it, and one of the things that we noticed is this side of the property, as you're coming down Bedford Road, it's all downhill. It's in a hole basically. Yep. The only access the real access that you have is right where the driveway is existing. Not only that, it's right here is an existing septic system. It's probably a 70, 80-year-old system. It's operational, it's functional, it's working for the family. However, it's going to need some updates in some years. Probably sometime it will need some updates. With the new regulations from the health department, the requirements for the redundant fields and the size of the fields, it almost makes this side of the property unusable for any building or crossover of vehicles. You know, we thought, is it better if we put garage in the back corner? But again, accessibility, access to it, and just the fact that the property is not functional with the septic system it's almost like it's not even a consideration. Also, the difficulties we had in this property is it's a three-sided property. Mount Pleasant doesn't have any zoning codes written for three-sided properties, so the property that we're proposing is now a little bit better in terms of conforming property. It's still irregular shape, but it does have a front yard setback now. It has side yard setbacks, and we introduced a rear yard setback to it. So it's more of a typical property, I want to say, in Mount Pleasant. So we understand that we're going to be going in front of the zoning board for the location of the garage. I think that's the biggest hurdle that we have.
But in terms of the lot line and its modification, we're not affecting any zoning, any current zoning. We're not putting anything in a nonconformity. It's all conforming, and lot sizes are staying the same.
Okay. So the garage, so can you just go back to the very beginning? You said the contractor did something that confused or threw off the process. What was the contractor issue? Because the garage hasn't been built yet, right?
It has.
Oh, it has?
Started.
The foundation and the concrete walls are in place. They built it without having a permit.
Gotcha. No,
Right.
it's-
So,
It's unfortunate, but okay. So you're doing what you have to do now to, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was
yeah.
confusing me because it says new, but it's midway, but I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah,
I get it.
we're kind of in limbo.
Okay.
Yep.
So then they went, okay, to summarize, so you started building this garage, or not you, but the applicant started building this garage. They probably figured out, they probably got their hands slapped a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
So
We
this
got a
is,
stop work order, yeah.
Yeah,
so this is interesting. So Steve's analysis is basically correct. If you were to build a garage on the site, that's probably the only spot you could do it.
yeah,
If they had come to us and did the land swap first and then built the garage, no problem at all. We would have accepted that. It's the way to do this.
Right.
The fact he did it without giving permission is the problem here. So the land swap results in conformity, two lots that doesn't create any zoning issues with respect to them. The land swap is fine. The location of the garage is probably in the right spot. The issue is they did it illegally, and is that a concern to you in retroactively creating a condition that's the logical way to develop the property or not? We had one of these once before, a number of years ago, and your board just didn't like the fact that they didn't get permission first and wound up rejecting the application basically because they went out of sequence to get what was done. That was your predecessor's kind of position on that.
Yep.
So, but again, this is the way it would be done if they had come to us first.
Has the land swap, that's been done and documented?
Not
That's-
yet.
Okay, so this is-
APAR has talked to the owner. Everybody's in agreement. We modified it. Again, his only request was that we give him the same amount of land back that were taken from him. And in the analysis, you can see that it's there.
So the lot line adjustment application, it actually has two applicants, I would think.
It has to have both.
Yeah.
Right, so what Steve is telling you
Yep.
is probably correct, but prior to any action, we would have to have documentation from the adjacent neighbor that they are in fact a party to the.
Okay,
And
yeah,
I-
there was
and
an
we-
affidavit with the application in the stuff that I read over from both neighbors.
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
we do have permission from the neighbor. So
Oh.
he's on board with it.
I have a couple of questions. Does the existing house have a garage at all?
No.
Okay. And garages are permitted in the front yard setback?
So that's the zoning. board
That's the
issue.
zoning, yeah.
You're going to go to the zoning board for that?
I'm assuming that's gonna be our next step
It
if
has to be.
if
Okay.
the
No, I
board
was
is
just
okay
wondering
with
because it
Yeah.
was zoning compliant. The lots are zoning compliant, but the
Right.
garage is,
Correct.
That's correct.
With
And
respect-
the tricky issue technically, Eileen, is that we're sending him for a zoning compliance issue for a lot that doesn't yet exist.
right.
So it's kind of cart before the horse-ish.
And is this a two-car garage? It looks small.
It's about 1.5 car.
Yeah, it looks-
So he wants to put one car in there and just some room for the kids' bikes
Yep,
and
yep.
toys and stuff like that.
there's always stuff.
Always stuff.
And the
I have
garage,
s-
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
it meets the setbacks with the lot adjustment.
So it meets, so because it's not allowed in the front yard, there is no front yard setback dictated. We're showing it graphically here, in compliance with the side yard setback of a main structure. So we're exceeding that on the side yard. But the front yard, there is no setback, so I think we're about 30 feet off the road or so. About 32 feet away, and
Yeah,
I mean,
I would just rephrase what Steve said to you. There's no front yard setback.
Right, I get it.
It's
There-
illegal in the
Yeah,
front yard.
you
That's
can't
why there's
have-
no.
Yeah,
so you-
right.
You can't, there's no zoning code for a garage in the front yard.
But you exceed the side yard setback for an accessory structure with the new lot
Yeah,
line? Okay.
yeah, we meet it for a main structure,
A
exceed
main
for
one,
a,
okay.
exceed for a accessory. So we did have some photographs. And I just want to show you what the reality of this
Yeah,
thing.
I drove by this weekend, and there's quite a bit of property there, number one. so it's a decent-sized lot, number one.
It's an acre property.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
decent-sized lot, so. I don't think it's gonna create an obstruction or visual issue to me.
Yeah, no, I don't think it will. I'm just trying to find, I did have a photograph of what it looked like from afar. Ah, there it is. Oh.
In addition, beyond the lot line, you've still got quite a distance to the road pavement,
Yeah,
so
yeah, there is a,
20 feet to the road pavement or something?
it's probably more like 15 feet, but there is a big buffer to the roadway. So you can see this is what's built there right now.
Yep.
And
Oh, grab the,
yeah, you want to sing.
Pull up. Give a hand.
So you can see the structure's almost built inside, and there's heavy trees and bushes and plantings all around this thing. It's barely visible from the street. I don't think anybody will ever notice it. I don't think it'll be an eyesore for anybody, especially being on Bedford Road, cars going by 35, 40 miles an hour. I think it's going to be almost hidden in the trees.
so I do want to make sure that, and I think the intent of this owner is, I want to make sure that it remains a garage. Meaning, there's never a future owner who intends to use it, so if we ever go down this path, we would have to make sure that it,
Restricted condition of approval. for sure.
right, because I don't want it turning into an accessory apartment, I don't want it turning into rooming house, whatever you want to be, so, and I'm not saying this owner is going to do it, but there's always property
Sure,
transfers going on.
absolutely. Yep.
So that intent would have to be something I would personally think I would like to see.
Yeah, and again, Mr. Chairman, I just want to rectify when we met with Steve, our position was tear it down and put it in the legal place. We went through the exercise with Steve that there is no place to put it, given the fact that the septic system and the expansion field and all that stuff is in the way. So it's really here and nowhere else.
Yep.
I like the way it's built into the hillside a little bit there in the photograph that you showed. How tall will it be?
It'll be under the 15 feet, so we're probably looking at, I think, maybe about 10 feet to the eave line, and then probably a gable going up, so
Okay.
if you look at it from a zoning perspective, it'll probably be to the middle part of the gable, probably at 12, 13 feet
Okay.
at the most.
Okay. So Pat, anything else that's preventing this from going to a public hearing?
No, I think this is one where you want to have a public hearing to get input before you make a judgment.
Yep. Okay, with that being said, any other, first of all, I'm making sure I
I
hear.
have a question procedurally. So if we go and, if the planning board approves the lot line adjustment and the zoning board denies the application for a garage, are you going to go back? Like, what happens?
Yeah, and we would approve that lot line adjustment. He's got a lot line adjustment he'd have to live with.
So why wouldn't he get the variance? He can't do the variance first because he has to
Because
have
the
the
lot
lot,
doesn't
right?
exist, yeah,
Right.
okay.
The dimension of the variance depends on the new lot.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Okay. So anything else from board members?
You said the work started as we saw the pictures, and the contractor that he had a contract with was stopped. There was a stop work order
Correct.
issued by the town.
Yeah.
And how did that arise? With just someone drove by and reported construction on the site, or I'm just curious how?
You know, Akbar, I'm not 100% sure if it was the building department just going to a random inspection and they noticed the activity there, or if somebody did call in. Any idea?
Yeah, and I don't know either, Walter. Not sure.
Just all of a sudden, the building department showed up one day and
Usually, I mean, it could have been Sal driving down the road, but
Yes,
more likely
yeah.
somebody.
dropped the dime? Okay. So is this contractor still in contract, or is he going with somebody else?
No, he's not around anymore.
What a surprise.
Yeah.
All right. Any final questions? I think procedurally, we need to make a decision whether or not this is ready for a public hearing or not.
And I would say, just with respect to that determination, we haven't heard from the engineering department yet, so.
You have what?
We have not heard from the engineering department yet. Normally, you would get engineering comments before setting the public hearing. I don't think they're gonna be significant necessarily, subject to, you can consider that, or you can wait for Dave's comments.
Yep. Okay, what is the thoughts on the board? From the board members? So we could do three things. We could do nothing. We can direct that we're gonna wait until the town engineer gets his comments back, or we can vote to, subject to the town engineer coming back.
My opinion, Mr. Chairman, is I think you would benefit from hearing from neighbors in this case. It's a garage in a front yard.
Yeah.
If the folks in the neighborhood have an issue with that, would, I think, inform your decision significantly.
Yeah.
So I'd like to make a motion to schedule the public hearing.
Any subject to?
Subject to engineering comments.
Okay, so motion from Eileen,
Second.
second from Walter. Walter,
Aye.
Jean,
Aye.
Eileen,
Aye.
and an aye for me. Thank you. And that's a good lessons learned here, I'm sure. We always get a permit before we do work on a house. But I'm not going to repeat that because that's not my level of expertise. Okay. Next up, town board referrals. So this is a little different than our typical items. These are items that have been sent to the town board, to the planning board from the town board for us to review. There's two things out of number 4 and number 5. First up is consider proposed code amendment to 218-68 1 Hamlet zoning district, building type regulation, Valhalla Hamlet zoning district. Establish a transition between the density of the Valhalla Hamlet zoning district and the neighboring residential districts. Application TPR 25-1, petitioner's town of Mount Pleasant. Okay.
So I can give you some context about this, Mr. Chairman. So you'll remember we had a proposal that was just up the Valhalla Hamlet for a multifamily project. It was just below the townhouses. It was 20 units, something like that, a fairly substantial project, but it was just outside the Hamlet zone. They petitioned us. They said, I'd like to extend the Hamlet zone 2 properties to include this parcel, which would allow them to do a multifamily project. The town board, in reviewing that, didn't want to simply extend the Hamlet zone. They had concerns about that. They also expressed concerns about the density of that potential development. So what the town board has developed is a recommendation to consider a transition area, that's basically the area around the north side of the Hamlet zone. And within that, there's the floor area ratio, coverage, and setback restrictions would be restricted from what is allowed in the Hamlet zone per se. So it's a transition area. It reduces the development density that would be allowed in these transitional areas. So that project that you saw would no longer be permissible. They'd have to reduce the scale of that project significantly, but they would still have an opportunity to advance a similar but smaller project on the property. So this is only for the Valhalla Hamlet zone, not Hawthorne, not Thornwood, and it's just those 10 or so parcels that are identified as the transition zone along the edge of the Hamlet zone.
And where is the transition zone? That's south of, or,
Essentially the east side, the reservoir side of Hamlet.
okay.
There really isn't a transition anywhere else. It's the church to the south. It's Columbus Avenue. So it's really the one side of it.
But the property that they were proposing, that apartment building, is in this transition zone.
Yes, it is.
And like you said, it
Okay.
changes the density that would be
Correct.
the project that you could
So
do there.
floor area ratio, coverage, impervious surface coverage, building coverage would all be reduced by about 10% or so from what would otherwise be permitted.
And right now, there's the old church is there.
That was a church, was an office building, was had various lives since it was a church, yeah.
Because in the hamlet zoning, it says, you know, you try to preserve any kind of historical, I don't know if that building has any historical significance.
It's not a designated building. We kind of looked at that when their original proposal was to knock it down entirely.
Right.
So that proposal no longer has any viability. So would someone now propose to renovate that building, perhaps? So, and that would be, you're absolutely right, Jana, a benefit to us to preserve the building.
So the town board can do what they want to do.
They do. So this is a zoning amendment, so it's an automatic referral to you and the county planning board. You have 30 days to give them a response. Your response could be, we like it, we don't like it. Your response could be, we acknowledge your receipt of this and not do anything. You can give them technical comments. You could do really whatever you want. It's them asking for your advice, basically.
Okay.
And I will say, though, it was the law department that drafted the technical amendment to the code that you have before you.
There'll also be a public hearing on this.
So so what'll happen is your referral, county planning board referral goes back to the town board. Town board has its own public hearing. You don't have a public hearing on this, and they must deal with the public hearing and seeker before they make any change to the code.
So then when the town board has a public hearing, they're going to have a document from the planning board saying something.
Saying whatever you want to say.
And the county-
Or you actually don't have to do anything.
Correct.
If you choose. But yes,
Or-
your commentary would be incorporated into their deliberations.
Right. Because this is an important one.
When I read over I was just looking over the whole referral, and it struck me that the proposed changes will make for a smaller project up there, but
Yeah.
I also was looking at saying, okay, they're supposed to have a 0 front yard setback and occupy 75% of the street frontage.
Yeah.
When you're in a residential neighborhood on Kensico, I'm referring specifically to that site.
Right.
As you cruise up that roadway, the houses are very close to the front property lines,
Yeah.
but they're not 75 feet of it, and it just felt like there would be a whole wall of building
There could
as
be.
you're cruising up,
Yeah.
whether it's this project or another one, and I would even recommend establishing like a 5-foot setback there.
That's actually a good idea. And again, the Hamlet Code is basically intended for the Hamlet core, where you
Yeah.
have commercial buildings, retail buildings.
0 lot line and a
Exactly
wall
right.
of stores,
So this
but
is the
different.
unusual area of that district to begin with. So it is, it needs to be dealt with separately and independently. I think it's what town board's trying to do by creating this transition zone. So your
But I
comments are.
thought like a 5-foot setback, then you could at least have some planting in front of it
So what you
too.
may want to do is the townhouse project that's up the road has townhouse front yard setbacks, and it's not very deep.
Yeah.
Those buildings are fairly close. You may want to mirror that.
Okay.
And then I think that gives some
I think that's
continuity
good.
between what's going on up and down the
And
hill.
that makes it more transitional. If you go
Exactly
right to
right.
the commercial code of 0, you haven't transitioned. You
Yeah.
just-
No, I think that's a great idea.
But my take is the town board's going to do what the town board's going to do, with or without our input. Right, and
I think they take your commentary
But
seriously,
setbacks
Jim.
is-
We can just offer that as an option to consider.
Yeah.
No?
no,
No,
I'm
I
just saying
agree.
generally the whole idea of doing a town board referral, I get it, and it's going to be an input, whether it's our comments or not.
Yeah, your comments would not bind them in any way.
Correct.
They can dismiss
But
them or.
food for thought, I think, is, we look at setbacks, that's an important part of what we do.
So we could phrase it in a way, if the town board were to consider it.
Yeah, we would recommend you consider a front
We're
yard
not,
setback.
we're not saying, me personally, I don't want to say that we are agreeing with what they're doing, but if they were to consider
Yeah,
it,
Jim, you can pick out one aspect of this and say, if you do it, think about this. So I think you can simply comment about that front yard setback, and that's adequate.
okay, so there's a couple things then. I think the setback. The other issue that I was concerned with too is not how we blend it into is the parking issues.
So the parking requirement doesn't change. There's no change to that proposal. So the parking requirement stays as is today.
Okay. So those things, if they were, all that stuff would be vetted out to any application that does come back to us at some point in the future, because I do have some concerns about some of the items in particular.
Oh, yeah, that project is no longer feasible, so if something comes back, it would be an entirely different project and a smaller project.
Right. Okay. I have my view. I don't know what, if anybody has their view.
Your view is that if the town board is inclined to adopt this amendment to the code,
Consider the following.
okay, not come off with a recommendation to adopt it or no objection to adoption, just if the board wants
That's my,
to?
that's my take. It was one board member, because I don't want to sway the board one way or the other. I don't want to dip my toe into that
I think that's,
conversation.
that's better than simply saying we like the recommendation. If you're
Right.
giving them something tangible
To think
to
about.
think about.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from board members? Okay, so we have we have a town board referral. The town board has asked us to consider it. We have considered it tonight. What are the thoughts, sentiment of the board?
I have one question. Was this amendment initiated by the town board? Or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of public
Right, so
conversation, right?
when the applicant brought that project forward, they were proposing an amendment to the Valhalla Hamlet zone to
Yeah.
just extend it.
We saw
The
that.
town board did not want to do that.
Mhm.
So it was the town board that decided we'll create this transitional zone with modified criteria.
And this would be the only transitional zone in the whole town?
Yes. Yeah, they talked about whether it would be appropriate in Hawthorne and Farnwood and not. This stretch of Valhalla is really unique. So initially, we probably should have been dealing with it differently, but we didn't at the time, didn't think about it at the time, so, yeah, it's just this area.
Okay.
So this is one piece of property now, but within that district, if somebody wanted to tear down other homes and do it, we have to be mindful that I don't think you want a whole current residential place with no setbacks. I think it's
Right.
important that we put that in
Right.
there.
And again, as we said when we looked at that project, it's unlikely you have to assemble a bunch of those properties. Most of them
Right.
support viable homes. It would be an expensive proposition to acquire a bunch of them, knock them down, and build something else.
Now,
Not in-
then they may not agree with us at the town board level, right? We can have the recommendation to put the setback in, but they may or may not agree with us.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's just a
Right,
suggestion.
their decision.
If you choose to do the setback, would you, as I suggested, do you want to use the setback that applies to the townhouse zoning? Or do you want to pick a
Yeah,
number?
that's already there. I mean,
To me, it
doesn't-
seems logical,
Any
but
idea what that is?
I was just looking at it. I
Oh,
don't think,
okay.
I don't
Because you
know.
don't want anything too dissimilar to.
Yeah, I don't want it to be like 30 feet or something,
Right.
but if it's, you know.
Consistency is always
Yeah,
good.
Right.
it looks like it's around 25 feet. But it's not, 75 feet. It's not a big setback like a
Right.
typical single-family
I
home.
think that's a good starting point, just because it's.
So we'll find out what that is.
The houses closer to downtown are built right to the property line, and then they go
Yep.
back to 10, and some are
Right.
as much as 15, 25, but
Yeah,
as you go up the hill.
they get, yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts, comments, conversation? Okay, so do we have any motions or not?
We can just-
I make a motion that we send a letter to the town board indicating that if they are inclined to adopt this amendment to the code, that they consider providing a front yard setback
Equivalent to the
equivalent
townhouse zone.
to, I don't want to say
Or
the exact
consistent.
same, or consistent,
Consistent with the adjacent townhouse zone.
correct.
Is there a motion?
What Pat said.
Motion from Eileen,
Second.
second from Jane. Walter? Jane?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
And I from me. Okay, so that one is done. Next up is another one. That's a town board referral. Consider a proposed local law prohibiting battery energy storage systems in the town of Mount Pleasant. So this one
So the
is
background on
interesting.
this, Mr. Chairman, is if you remember, the town adopted a moratorium on battery energy storage systems. During the moratorium, we analyzed the applicability of a local law. We drafted a local law that limited the location of these to 3 areas of the town. 2 of those areas were restricted, undevelopable areas. One was a park, one was in the Rockefeller Preserve. So they were undevelopable for such a facility. And there was another area along the west side of 9A that would have allowed it in limited areas, basically underneath the high-intensity utility lines, within I think it was 500 feet of the utility line. So there were maybe 2 sites, and it had minimum lot areas. So there were maybe 2 sites in the town where a battery energy storage facility could have been permitted under the draft local law. The town board considered that, and their decision was, we don't want them anywhere. We want a complete prohibition in the town. We don't want battery energy storage facilities in our community, and that's what the local law that you have been referred to
So the,
states,
so the
basically.
question comes up, what about the 2 that are in town already? Or-
Pre-existing would become pre-existing legal non-conforming uses.
So they could not expand,
They could not expand.
right?
So
Okay.
for those 2, though, they have to be lawfully decommissioned at the end of their useful
They do,
life.
and that was part of the approvals for those, Walter. If you remember, there was decommissioning, we have a bond to decommission them as well. So we were all over the potential of decommissioning them at some point in time. And the batteries last 30 years, whatever it is, so it will be decommissioned. We were very concerned that they would just sit there forever. So we actually have bonds to, if they don't do it, we'll do it. And remove them and dispose of them properly.
Well, you know, I think I wasn't the only one, but I know a few of us attended the Westchester Planning Federation
Yeah.
session, and there was some very compelling and interesting data on battery storage facilities.
I think the town board's position was that the public safety issue was too uncertain for them to make a definitive judgment that it was appropriate in a particular location in the town. They
Yep.
studied the issue, they explored what other communities were doing, and at the end of the day, they decided they were unwilling to accept new zoning that accommodated even in those 2 or 3 limited locations.
So, okay, so this is the same thing. We can make a recommendation that we agree with it or don't agree with it, or we can take no action, essentially.
Yep, and again, this local law is a total prohibition of battery energy storage facilities.
Okay. Any final thoughts or questions from board members?
I have some questions. For the existing facilities, in the event of a fire, can they rebuild subject to the non-conforming use
It's
standards?
50% standard would
Okay.
apply.
Can they upgrade the existing facilities with safety features as they become available?
So that's a good question. I would say logically, we would want them to do that.
Okay.
If the, UL underwriter provision of the connection to the electric grid changed, absolutely, we'd want them to update that. But that's not in our code anywhere. I think we would have to rely on Sal's judgment to
Right.
make sure they're upgrading appropriately and not expanding. That's the key.
But we,
Or intensifying?
Right.
Yeah.
but we could theoretically put that in our note to them that if new, which it's gonna be a long time, right? Because it's
30 years.
30 years, and new technology comes out for increased safety. We have to be very careful how we phrase that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Safety standards are developed, not the expansion of the solar panels, but the expansion of safety features.
Which is the primary issue everybody has with these facilities. It's
The
safety.
board needs to consider how to handle that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ordinance references maintenance, but that might be, and maybe not an upgrade, but that could be part of
I
maintenance,
think that's
including.
probably what people were envisioning when they threw the maintenance provision in there. that
Okay.
Upgrading to meet UL, whatever electrical code standard is maintenance effectively.
I would almost say encourage annual review of new safety
That's a good idea.
technology that comes out to
It's
manage
actually
these things.
interesting, Jim, because if you remember, all of our electrical generator approvals carry with it an annual update, because generator equipment gets updated all the time, and the standards, so we embed that in our approvals. So-
Can we craft a recommendation that sounds like that?
Yeah, I
Only
think so.
related to
Yeah.
battery?
And again, I'm sure, like anything electrically oriented, those standards get updated and modified all the time. So not only do I think it could happen, it is going to happen, that the standards governing those two existing facilities will change.
Okay.
I mean, I'm assuming this industry is gonna advance new technology over the next 30 years. And I'm hoping, although I always say hope is never a strategy, but hope is hope, that if they do develop technology outside of Mount Pleasant, that they factor in a lot of these new safety ideas they were talking about, which
Yeah,
I'm sure they
so
will.
the reason this was such an issue for our county is that New York State established money for these
Yep.
local private companies to build these facilities. There was an incentive for them to do these. So they descended on us because they had a pool of government money to do these sorts of things. That government money was intended to initiate an industry, basically. So once that pool of money's done, there's a self-sustaining industry that's gonna deal with this forever and ever and ever, presumably. So this is the cutting edge, people are trying to figure out how to deal with this. But once we get past this initial pulse, I think everything calms down a little bit, and the industry will sort of self-regulate based on the
Yeah,
market.
there's going to have to be some sort of industry safety standards for that industry that is out there that in our crafting of the note should match.
So that's an interesting comment, Jim. So the draft local law that we had prepared was based on the New York State model ordinance for battery energy storage facilities. So lots of smart people thought about this. Our town board simply said, yeah, those are good, but not here. They made a policy decision not to do it here. They didn't say it's unsafe technology forever and ever and ever. They made a policy decision, like anything else, we don't want this type of use in our
No,
community.
agreed,
That's
but
their choice.
I'm referring to the safety features of the solar panels. Like, as they advance, I want to make sure that we're thinking about me personally, and that we're incorporating them. I think we said the same thing a couple times in different ways, but it generated from the good idea from Eileen too. So I thought,
Yeah, and this is really fire department issues, so the
Mhm.
emergency responders deal with these in a very special way. So that's
Yeah.
gonna change invariably based on the technology that changes. So as long as the fire department stays up to speed on what they have to do when they go to a site that's on fire, then
Okay.
we're probably in pretty good shape.
But currently now, they just let it burn.
They let it burn. Yeah, but that means securing an area, and the vapors and chemicals that are discharged during the incident is a concern to people, so that's what's evolving. And I will say, everybody's paying attention to this these days, as I am, so the technology, these are lithium batteries. They're there's a different technology that's probably gonna replace those lithium batteries that are in our phones and everything else very, very soon. So that's gonna be the change. It's gonna be an upgrade from a lithium-ion battery to a silicone battery, or whatever it might be 5 years from now. That's gonna be the change.
Do you know of other towns in Westchester that have enacted prohibitions?
Yes, so there were, I think, 9 moratoria throughout the county, and there have been other communities that have prohibitions, adopted ordinances that prohibit them across the board.
Have they been challenged?
Not yet. You know, but we know something about that from our solar energy installations. I mean,
oh,
we're-
and I anticipate it's going to be challenged,
Good, well, so that's a good, who knows?
whether Mount
Jim?
Pleasant or elsewhere.
Right, so there's a lot of competition on these private companies to build these because there's governmental money to do it. When the government money's gone, the competition will diminish probably or change. But I have a feeling they're just gonna go to someplace that will accept the facility. Rather than fight the battle here, they're just gonna go to a community that allows them. Because they have a short period of time to spend the money to install these facilities.
Yeah.
So we may not get challenged, but who knows?
Okay. Some good conversations. Anything else? Okay. So we've had some conversation. We've read the material. We've discussed it. Anything else? No. Let the record show nothing else. What is the sentiment of the board? Any ideas on motions or not?
We can just let it be and put it.
Or to Eileen's point, you could do the same thing you did in the last one. If you choose to adopt this, please consider a provision for existing facilities and making sure they're upgraded in accordance with modified codes.
I agree with that.
So that sounds like a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we, if the board considers it, that they, do what Eileen said.
Okay, so we have a motion from Eileen, motion from Jean. It's been a long
Second.
day. Second from Eileen. Walter?
All right.
Jean?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
And an aye from me. Okay. That's it. There's nothing left tonight.
Okay, we'll adjourn.